Let's do our 3 keys to victory. Number 1, don't get impatient. So, this actually goes for the team and also the fans. And this is why. The fans at the game, there will and on TV, there will be times where Iowa State goes 3 and out. It's a negative play. It's 2 negative plays in a row, and then they go 3 and out, and they go 3 and out, and they go 3 and out. You just don't get impatient until it's like third quarter, fourth quarter thing. If they haven't figured anything out by like late third quarter, fourth quarter, sure, start panicking. If in the first quarter they go 3 and out on the first couple drives because Arizona was able to get a couple negative plays, don't worry about it. That's Arizona's thing. They like to gamble. They like to gamble as a way to generate negative plays. In exchange, you're gonna get a couple plays that you're gonna get a couple chunk plays in exchange for those negative plays, and they're hoping that those chunk plays get either canceled out by more negative plays later on that drive, or that they don't go for touchdowns, and instead and the negative plays end up in a strip sack or something like that. So like for Rocco Becht, it's if you there's no reason to play hero ball in this game because Arizona they'll penalize themselves, they'll commit special teams mistakes, they'll do lots of things to give you the game. And as long as like if it comes to the down to you taking a sack, or making a risky throw or something like that, just take the sack, or trying to make a throw like out of traffic. Like if you're being swarmed in the pocket and trying to make a throw out of traffic type of thing, where the ball might get knocked out on the way out type of thing. I think you have to make a business decision there, because if Arizona is able to get like a strip sack and turn their aggressiveness into a turnover and get a lot of field position that way, that's where you can get in trouble. Eating a sack, punting the ball away, flipping the field, and making Arizona, dink and dunk their way all the way down the field all game, I think is going to be a recipe for success for Iowa State as far as winning the field position game. Because again, Arizona likes to make special teams blunders, and they like to penalize themselves. So if you make them take 8, 9, 10 plays to get down the field, to get 50 yards, if you're going to make them take 10 or 12 plays to get 50 yards, eventually they're going to hurt themselves. They're going to eat a false start penalty. They'll eat a holding penalty. They'll do something like that and probably hurt themselves. So I think just don't get impatient. Don't try to force passes in there. Don't get overly aggressive as far as attacking their aggressive defense right away. Take what they'll give you, which sometimes is going to be a big play. Sometimes they will just give you a big play, not on purpose, but they'll miss a coverage. They'll over pursue something. There's lots of things you can do. A game like this screams like, get a couple guys in there, a couple extra tight ends for pass protection, do a play action to Abu Sama and hit Dom Overby down the sideline or something like that. Like something like that makes a lot of sense to happen in this game. So don't get impatient. This is an obvious one, but avoid silly mistakes. Like I just talked about. Don't hurt yourself by taking a false start penalty and going to 1st and 15, because then if the next play Arizona gets a negative play, now it's 2nd and 18, you've got a long ways to go. You got a long ways to go in 2 plays. So, don't put yourself behind the sticks already, because if Arizona sees you get to 1st and 15, that for them, that's blood in the water. That means they're almost guaranteed to blitz the next down, probably 6 guys the next down if they see you get to 1st and 15. Eliminating pre-snap penalties, especially on offense for Iowa State this game, is critical. Do not give them any reason to dial up more and more and more pressure, unless you somehow feel like you can play 4D chess on this thing and burn them with the next play. So just avoiding these, we don't need to see any of the special teams played. No, a muff punt. Don't need a muff punt return. We don't need any shanked punts. You know, avoid the dumb things. Be the well coached, solid football team that doesn't beat itself that they've been for the last 2 years. And because Arizona up to this point has been guaranteed to commit multiple silly mistakes a game. So, and that this is a good point too from Jay Bird is that that K-State did some really really dumb shit in that Arizona game that let Arizona stay ahead and win that game. Yeah, I'm not a big believer in the like this team won versus this team lost thing, but Kansas State did plenty to hand Arizona that game. So it's not like Arizona went out there and dominated from kick to whistle type of thing. It was like Kansas State did plenty on their own to deal with that. And keep in mind that was a Kansas State team that was on a short week and they were gassed and they barely lost to Arizona. And Iowa State's got, I think, a lot better options for attacking this Arizona defense. They're going to be rested. They'll have 2 weeks rest. More importantly, Taylor Mauser has 2 weeks to prepare for what a very oddball defense that is super aggressive. He's got 2 weeks to prepare for this thing, and he's got 2 weeks. I would say had 2 weeks to get rested. And actually, one thing I'm just going to bring it up now. Actually, I'll bring it up here in a little bit because I want to go through my last key here. Use Arizona State's pressure against them. We were just talking about that a little bit in our offense versus defense preview, but they're going to blitz. They're going to stunt. Sometimes they're going to be successful and they're going to wrap up a back in the backfield. There's going to be other times where Trevor Burr or Dylan Barrett or Brennan Black is going to catch one of those defensive tackles in a bad twist, and it's going to leave a gaping hole that Carson Hansen can follow a tight end or a pulling guard through and get to the second level pretty fast. And then if you can make a guy miss from there, you've got chunk running plays available to you. So this, it's screens, it's RPOs, it's play action. I mean, obviously you can't do all those things all the time because you need to be able to do the homework. You need to set them up with some more standard runs and some more conventional throws. But this is a defense that is basically daring you to run a fake the other direction and to take a shot deep, which we've seen that Taylor Mauser has not been afraid to take a deep shot, especially early in the game. Iowa State is perfectly happy to trust their guys to win their one-on-one matchups downfield. If it's Brett Eskels and another receiver, or Chase Sowell, another receiver or whatever, they're going to trust those two guys, those two guys especially, but they're going to trust their receivers and their tight ends to go win one-on-one matchups. They'll throw a deep ball. When it's just a receiver and another guy. They're going to say, well, our guy's going to win that. And, a lot of times it pays off. Sometimes it doesn't. The receivers, if the receivers ever wanted to have a good game and not drop some passes, this would be a great one to do it in. And because if you can really get the receivers going this game and get them up to speed with the rest of the team, basically, that adds a wrinkle to this that Arizona hasn't really been there this season, and Arizona may not be really super ready for. So, let them be over aggressive and punish them for it. Hit them with the RPO stuff, the backside alerts, the bubble screens, the tight end up the seam, things like that they've gotten passed along. They've gotten past a few different defenses this year as well. So one thing I do want to talk about a little bit this week is the injury situation. Maybe pull up my little banner here. Ooh, all right, injuries. So Matt Campbell did provide an injury update this week. He said that basically everybody's good to go except for Kyle Conradi. Not ideal. since Kyle is Kyle and he's a Groza award level of kicker. Um, he said he's not playing this week. They don't. He said it's not a long term thing. All of the rumors appear to be pointing towards 4 to 6 weeks. We've heard 5 weeks. Kyle Conrarty's dad appeared to like sort of confirm 5 weeks on Twitter earlier this week. I don't know if that's real or not. Matt Campbell said it's more of a strain. I don't know exactly what that means. He's not here this week. Maybe you can get him back for BYU. But otherwise, it sounds like Jontez Williams, like that turned out to be nothing. I guess it was just kind of a bruised foot, and he's fine. He practiced all last week. He's practicing this week. Just so Jontez Williams is fine. Carson Willich is back. Aiden Flores back. So I'm assuming he will be back. That kick and punt returner there, which I think is a nice boon. It's not that Xavier Townsend couldn't handle it or something like that, but I think Aiden was off to a really, really nice start this season, returning punts and kicks. So you're really glad to have Aiden Flora back as well. So, it's great to have. They got healthy like they wanted to. They've gotten rest like they needed to, and having an extra week to prepare for this is a big deal. You wish you had Kyle Conrarty back because he can kind of change your offensive play calling a little bit. It's I don't know exactly what the leg on the new kicker looks like. Chase Smith, I think is his name. My guess is he probably doesn't have range out to 65 like Conrarty does. But if he can hit to 40 yards, even if he can hit to 45 or 50 yards, let's say he's got 50 yards of range, that changes your play calling from now. As soon as you're across the 50, you're pretty much in range versus, you want to get to the 35 at least before you even really think about kicking. And that changes your play calling. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. Because instead of now in situations where, at the 40-yard line, they just say, fuck it, we're going to let Kyle Conrarty kick and we're going to take the 3 points. Maybe now on 4th and 4, now they're going to go for it more often. Now, sometimes that means they might not get it and they turn it over on downs, but they also just might get it and they just keep the drive moving. So taking that safety blanket of Kyle Conrarty away, it could potentially be good. If the offense has some momentum and they're figuring it out, forcing them to convert on a 4th down in a place where they would have just taken 3 points could easily just end up in a longer drive and end up either with an easier field goal or with a touchdown. So, I'm not saying losing Kyle Conrarty is not a good thing. You don't want to lose Kyle Conrarty, but I think the silver lining is this could force the offense to be more aggressive around the middle, between the 40s, basically. Be more aggressive, knowing that you don't have, or even let's say between the 30s, knowing that you don't have that safety blanket back there and really wanting to just make sure you keep this thing moving forward.